Welcome to This Explainer. We're jumping right into the dynamic, highly reactive foundation of inorganic chemistry today, the S block. We're going to break down these complex atomic behaviors into clear concepts, stripping away all the clutter so you can actually understand what makes the physical world tick.
Think about this for a second. What are the lithium battery in your smartphone, the salt on your fries, and the calcium regulating the beating of your heart actually have in common? Well, it turns out they're all driven by the exact same group of chemical elements. These elements literally form the foundation of our universe.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to meet the block elements, look at Group 1 alkali metals, check out Group 2 alkaline earth metals, see how this chemistry shows up in daily life, and then wrap up with some exceptions and study tips.
All right, let's dive into Section 1. Meet the SMET block elements. So the term S block isn't just some random label. It tells us exactly where the outermost valence electrons live, the s orbital. And this single atomic trait, just where that final electron gets placed, dictates almost everything about how these elements behave. It's what makes them some of the most highly reactive elements in existence.
2. That is the magic number here. You see, the s orbital can hold a maximum of exactly 2 electrons. For these elements, having just 1 or 2 electrons in their outermost shell makes them incredibly unstable. They are like desperate, eager volunteers just waiting for the chance to give those electrons away so they can achieve a stable state. And that desperation, that's exactly what we call chemical reactivity.
Because they're so eager to lose those electrons, they have what chemists call low ionization enthalpy. Basically, the energy cost to strip an electron away is an absolute bargain. Now, as you move down the group, adding new electron shells, the atoms get physically larger. They're soft, they have low density, and they are good conductors. Plus, they're such strong reducing agents that you will absolutely never find them roaming free in nature. No way. They are always bonded to something else, hiding away in chlorides, carbonates, or sulfates.
Moving on to Section 2, Group 1, the alkali metals.
The Group 1 lineup runs from lithium at the very top all the way down to francium at the bottom. Remember that magic number we talked about? Well, every single one of these elements has an ns1 electronic configuration. That means just one lonely electron in that s orbital. Because of this, their metallic bonds are actually super weak. In fact, elements like sodium and potassium are so incredibly soft that you can literally cut them with a butter knife right there in the lab.
Section 3. Group 2. Alkaline earth metals.
Okay, let's look at these two side by side. Group 1 alkaline metals have that 1 valence electron and a +1 oxidation state. But Group 2 alkaline earth metals, they have 2. Because Group 2 has 2 electrons contributing to their metallic bonds, they are fundamentally harder, they have higher melting points, and they're slightly less reactive than their Group 1 neighbors. So they're a bit more stable, but still highly, highly active.
Now, this is where things get visually spectacular. When you introduce these metals to a flame, their electrons absorb the heat energy, jump up to a higher state, and then emit these beautiful characteristic wavelengths of light as they fall back down. Lithium burns a vibrant crimson red, sodium gives us a brilliant golden yellow, potassium flashes violet, while Group 2's barium glows apple green. It's essentially the exact same chemistry behind fireworks, and it's the perfect way to identify them in a lab test.
But hey, don't let those pretty colors fool you. These elements are explosive. Alkali metals react violently with water to form hydroxides and highly flammable hydrogen gas. And the big trend to remember here is that reactivity increases as you move down the group. While a Group 2 metal like beryllium is actually stable enough to not react with water at all, dropping cesium into a beaker of water, that's going to result in an immediate explosive reaction.
Up next, Section 4. Chemistry in daily life.
S-block elements are absolutely the workhorses of industry. Take the Solvay process, for example. By simply taking sodium chloride, that's common sea salt, and reacting it with ammonia, carbon dioxide, and water, we produce sodium bicarbonate, which you probably know better as baking soda. Then, take that baking soda, apply heat, and it decomposes into sodium carbonate, or washing soda. This everyday S-block chemistry is the foundation of glass manufacturing, water softening, and literally the cleaning agent sitting in your laundry room right now.
And they literally build our physical spaces too. Take calcium, a Group 2 metal. When you heat gypsum, you get plaster of Paris, a calcium sulfate compound. So whenever you see a surgical cast, a decorative sculpture, or the false ceilings in a modern office building, you are looking at the direct practical application of alkaline earth metal chemistry. They're even essential for forming the calcium silicates that make up cement.
So here's the really crucial point. These elements don't just build buildings, they build you. They are your biological engines. Sodium and potassium are constantly pumping across your cell membranes, maintaining osmotic balance, allowing your nerves to fire impulses, and helping your muscles contract. Without magnesium, which is the central atom in chlorophyll, plants couldn't even photosynthesize. And calcium? That's literally the framework of your skeleton and the reason your blood can clot. You, my friend, are an S-block machine.
Finally, Section 5, Exceptions and Study Tips.
Now, in chemistry, there are always anomalies. Rules are meant to be broken, right? Take lithium from group 1 and beryllium from group 2. Because they sit at the very top of their respective groups, they are incredibly small and have really high polarizing power. This makes them behave strangely. Lithium actually acts a lot more like magnesium, a sort of diagonal relationship, and is uniquely suited for things like rechargeable aerospace alloys and psychiatric medicines. Beryllium is so tiny it forms covalent compounds instead of ionic ones, and its oxides are amphoteric. That means they can actually react as both an acid and a base.
Let's tackle a classic FAQ that comes up all the time. Why on earth do we store sodium in a jar of kerosene in the lab? Well, remember that extreme reactivity we talked about earlier? If you just leave sodium out in the open, it will immediately begin reacting with the moisture and oxygen right out of the air. Kerosene acts as a protective blanket. It seals the metal away from the atmosphere and prevents a spontaneous and potentially dangerous reaction. If you're studying this, the key to mastering S-block chemistry isn't just rote memorization of 100 different equations. It's about understanding the periodic trends. You need to know why atomic size increases or why ionization energy decreases. If you compare group 1 and 2 side by side, map out processes like Solvay, and really grasp the fundamental why of the S orbital, well, the what of the chemical reactions will just naturally fall into place.
From the lithium batteries powering the device you're watching this on right now, to the calcium reinforcing your bones, S-block chemistry is the invisible, highly reactive foundation of our modern universe. It influences medicine, agriculture, technology, the whole shebang. So the next time you strike a match or turn on your phone, ask yourself, what other invisible atomic forces are quietly dictating the terms of your reality? Keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next explainer.